I'm joining PCASC. I think I started a couple weeks ago as the new co-coordinator, working with Shizuko Hashimoto and an amazing core of volunteers. Raise your hand if you've been a volunteer with PCASC. Right on, right on. Portland has a long history of solidarity with Latin America, which we're going to hear about a little bit more tonight. I don't know, how many people went to our 30th anniversary party on Sunday? Yes, yes. PCASC is this year, this July, celebrating 30 years of solidarity. Of course, PCASC as an organization grew out of this desire to support what was happening in Central America, specifically with the Sandinista revolution in 1979. So we have a long history of supporting social movements through material aid, also organizing here politically against US imperialism. And in 2005, PCASC broadened its scope from Central America to throughout Latin America. And we had a planning retreat. We were looking at Venezuela and thinking about the process, the democratic process that was unfolding there.
There's not a super lot to tell, and it kind of flatters me a bit, but yeah, just October, I was upstairs above us at a Winter Soldier Hearing, and just a few days before that, the United States Marine Corps let me know that they were going to recall me graciously for a third tour in Iraq. And I decided, after a couple bottles of wine and a pack of cigarettes, that indeed, I was going to stay true to my convictions that once I left those gates in 29 Palms, that never again would I participate in way, shape, or form in the United States military or policies of empires. That vocabulary was relatively new to me at that time. So I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old, and we've heard it tonight a lot already, that we talk about people over and over again, the importance of people. Well, it was because of the people I met in the United States Marine Corps that I am the person I am today, right? Because I went through basic training and infantry training. I did 2 tours in Iraq, both of them in Fallujah, but the first one I also lived as an Arabic translator in the Haditha police station, as well as participating in the first siege of Fallujah. The second time there, mainly as an occupier. And this is when the people in my life, right, were very valuable to me because we were willing to listen to each other, to not buy the party line, to just start chatting, right? I said in my talks, right, I was on a speaking tour, I said in my talks that the revolution in America, a little bit different economical and political climate than South America here, right? The revolution in America is going to start on a bus, right? Just 2 strangers talking to one another about the issues in their neighborhoods, the politics in their communities, right? Who's growing the organic gardens? We want to know, that sort of thing. Well, I spent the last year in the Marine Corps as an urban combat instructor, and I met a new group of friends, people that had been in my battalion but I never even met before. They lived a story above me in the barracks, but they're in different companies, never met them before. They introduced me to a lot of bands like Anti-Flag, right? Bad Religion. We started really driving into the politics of these things. And if it wasn't for those 2, right, call them Trev and Cookie were their names, I might have never refused orders a year and a half later. But I did, and I came here to do it. And I wanted to share with you a little poem called Democracy by Charles Bukowski. Who else? And this is from The Flash of Lightning Behind the Mountain. The problem, of course, isn't the democratic system. It's the living parts which make up the democratic system. The next person you pass on the street, multiply him or her by 3 or 4 or 30 or 40 million, and you will know immediately why things remain non-functional for most of us. I wish I had a cure for the chess pieces we call humanity. We've undergone any number of political cures, and we all remain foolish enough to hope that the one underway now will cure almost anything. Fellow citizens, the problem never was a democratic system. The problem is you. So I'm going to close with some Raymond Carver, native Oregonian. This poem's The Current. These fish have no eyes, these silver fish that come to me in dreams, scattering their roe and milt in the pockets of my brain. But there's one that comes, heavy, scarred, silent like the rest, that simply holds against the current. closing its dark mouth against the current, closing and opening as it holds to the current. Thank you very much, guys.
Hallelujah. We're witnessing tonight. One of the things that I wanted to remind people is in the 1980s, PCASC basically started up around Ben Linder. Ben Linder, who's a Portland native here, who went down to Nicaragua and was working on a hydroelectric small little dam to create electricity for the local community down there. And he became sort of a hero of the movement. He was eventually assassinated close up in Nicaragua. And for me, we had, after he had passed away, I'd met his mother and his brother and sister, and we were dealing with trying to put together this big conference here. We had people like John Stockwell, who came out, who was a CIA representative, who had been in Africa dealing with issues over there and could no longer participate in what he saw that our government was doing, just like the veterans have been speaking out. Stockwell, and I can't remember all the names, but we had a list of people. We filled the Masonic Temple with people there, in about 1,000 people showed up for that event. And I go, oh God, I didn't even think of that. I still think of myself as 19. Only much more mature in mind. But these young people, after speaking to them and telling them that there was an alternative to going to war and what war really did, the pain that we had suffered by telling our stories, and what the government does to lie to get them to come into it. Afterwards, reading the letters from these kids that wrote back to me was the things that brought tears in my eyes. One young man said to me, wrote back and said, "We want to thank you, Mr. Shea, for coming here and speaking to us. Because, you know, I was sitting on my table, didn't look like I was paying attention, but I heard every word you said. Because when somebody else asked you, not only about, you know, your experience and about Vietnam, but about the borders. This was Latino American, and he was, you know, we're dealing with the issues of immigrants coming across the border. And they said, what did you feel about immigrants and how we have to protect our borders? And my answer was, well, I don't believe in borders. I consider myself a citizen of the world.